trying to adjust, so give me a second without knocking this over. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm trying to do this live in landscape so it's more pleasing to watch later instead of the like portrait mode, but it's hard to look at the right place. Okay. All right. Hello, welcome, and I'm clearly looking at the wrong place. I'm gonna try so hard. I'm Laura Burns, and I talk about body positivity, about yoga, about fat stuff, and yeah, welcome back. If you're new, that's who I am, that's what we're doing, and today I want to talk about things that your fat friends wish that you knew. So before I start, I would just like to say that this is not an exhaustive list of all the things. In brainstorming, I came up with a ton of things, but I want to try and keep this a little simple because some of these things might be completely new to you. And so I'm not trying to overwhelm you with ideas. But I do have my little post-it note here that I will be referring to so that I don't forget to talk about all the things that I do want to talk about today. Let's jump in. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the thing that I think most fat people, and especially larger fat people, think about when we bring up this topic, and that has to do with accessibility of seating at all the different places in the world that we ever have to go to. And so, let's see, are the comments on? Sorry, y'all, I'm not a pro. Show the messages, okay. Can somebody comment just so I can see that they're working? Pretty please. So yeah, so seating is like the biggest deal, I think, just because you never know, like depending on where you're going, like you never know what the seating is gonna be like. And so, thank you, Kim, it's working, hooray. Also, yay, you're here. So depending on even where we're talking about, like you may be able to research ahead of time to see, like to try and figure out what the seating is like. You may also not be able to figure out how big the seats are and if they're going to accommodate you, or how strong the seats are depending on where you're going, and we'll get into that. And so, you know, this video is just about like if you are a person in a thin body, or even an average sized body, or even a smaller fat body, you may not ever have to think about these things. But what I'm going to talk about in this video today are things that somebody my size or larger has to think about like all the time. And it really colors our perception of how fun something is, how excited I am to attend an event, how, you know, willing I am to go, you know, to a party or a dinner or, you know, an event at a venue, because there's a lot of anxiety that comes along with the unknown. So let's just talk about the seating. So restaurants are a big one because, you know, people, we like to eat out all the time. I mean, especially I live in Houston where eating out is like how you socialize. And I think that's true in a lot of places. Houston has a really big eating culture. And so, you know, if you have the restaurants that you have been to before, then you know what their seating is like, so you know what to expect. But like if somebody's like, hey, let's try this new restaurant, for me, my immediate reaction is not like, okay, great, let's do it, because I would want it to be. And like part of me does that, and then part of me goes, oh shit, I need to get on Yelp and try to find, or their website, and try to find pictures of the interior of the restaurant so I can see what kind of seating they have. Will they have only booths? Will they have chairs with arms that are going to be so small that I can't get in, or if I get in, it's going to hurt? Will they have, as in the case with one restaurant, banquette, like half booth, half table, or, you know, half chair? Which is a great option for fat people. But the tables were bolted down and the chairs had arms. So what could have been a really great option was in fact a terrible option, and I could not eat at that restaurant at all. Anyway, so like if somebody's like, hey Laura, let's go out to dinner, I want to try this new restaurant, I have to say, that sounds good. Let me, you know, like check into this and get back to you about whether or not I can eat there. And like, that's not a fun response, right? And so then I like go on Yelp, I go on the website, can I find a picture of the interior? Can I see, you know, what's going on with the seating? Because people don't usually mention that on their Yelp reviews, although I wish they did. And I'll come back to that at the end of the video. And so here's what I wish that like my thin friends or my smaller fat friends would do when they want to ask me to dinner, is do a little investigating. Like, if you know, hey, I want to go to dinner with Laura because I love her and I want to hang out with her and her sparkling personality, but I know that she has these issues, you know, with accessibility. So maybe I'll put in a little legwork so that I can say, hey Laura, do you want to go to dinner? I checked in and we can all go and it'll be very comfortable. Like, I've never had anyone do that for me. I think that would be amazing. And, you know, an acquaintance who never thinks about this stuff probably is not going to do that. But if you're like really good friends with somebody who is a larger fat, think about that. You know, like, take a little of the work away from them, because we walk through life like always having to do that. And it would be such a treat for somebody to do that for me. If you're going to go on a date with a fat person, and when I say larger fat, I mean like size 26 and up. And you may not always know what size somebody is, but if anyone has ever like expressed anxiety about the size of a seat, or always says no booths, only a table, you know, like, think about that. It's probably because of accessibility. Like, what a treat to like do the legwork for your friend, for your date, for your family member, whatever, and take that weight off of them for once, because we have to do it all the time. Okay, so that's restaurants. You know, choosing a restaurant, if it has only booths, which I have seen before, that's not a great fit for us. Most booths are not accessible for a larger fat body. Every once in a while they're like oddly large booths and you can go sit in them. But for us short folks out there, booths are not super comfortable because like my feet don't touch the ground because I have little baby kicky legs. So I just don't love booths in general, but especially as somebody with a big belly and a big body, like, that doesn't work for me. So that's restaurants. And this is, you know what, like, think about whoever you're going to dinner with. You know, if you have friends who have like chronic pain issues, like, don't choose a place where it's hard to get in and out. Hi, Jacqueline. Of booths, like, where you have to like slide over, or sit in places where there's no back support. There's a coffee shop near my yoga studio that I don't go to because the only seats I can ever get are these stools that have no back support. And like, that's not fun. Nobody wants to sit there for a long time drinking coffee and chatting and like, you know, wiggling around and stretching. Like, that sucks. So, okay, so restaurants. Okay, the other big one to me is in the workplace. And this is a hard issue because you may or may not, so if you're a fat person, you may or may not feel comfortable talking to your boss, or if there's like a department or committee that's designated for accessibility issues, you may or may not feel comfortable going to them. And if they don't have that, you know, that makes it even harder. Some people in your office may have never even heard the word accessibility or thought about that in terms of body size. So I have in multiple places, you know, started a new job, get to my desk, and the chair has, you know, it's an office chair with arms, and it's uncomfortable. Like, it digs into my belly or into my hips on each side. And I've had to go and say, hey, this chair doesn't fit. You know, are there other chairs that I can swap out, or can I get a new chair that fits me? Hi, Julie. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you're here. So yeah, like, it's hard. Like, that's daunting. And especially if you are new to kind of feeling empowered and being a self-advocate, like, that's a really hard thing to do. And most businesses don't make it easy. Like, there's no, like, you know, in your orientation, there's no like, if you have accessibility needs, here's what you can do, and this is the process, and it's, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like, nobody's gonna mention it. You're gonna have to figure it out. Like, it's not made easy for you. So that's like for your office chair. And then I was chatting with people in the community before this, and we were talking about like, you know, okay, we have a meeting, everybody go to the conference room, and like you get to the conference room and none of the seating is accessible for you. Like, what do you do then? Because you have to say something, or else what are you going to do? Stand? Or what I used to do when I was younger is just jam myself into the chair and then come out with bruises on my hips afterwards, because I didn't want to say anything, because I didn't feel comfortable advocating. And that's something that you have to decide, you know, how are you going to proceed? And that's, I mean, that's really hard, and I'm not here to tell you what to do. Sometimes it may not feel safe for you to ask for that accessible seating, you know, and so you might just jam yourself into the chair, because that is what feels like, you know, the safe option for you at that point. And there's a lot of reasons that it might not feel safe. If your coworkers are not like sensitive and respectful, and you think that they're gonna be like real shitty about it, or if they're gonna be like really disrespectful, or if it's gonna impact your working relationship, you may choose just to jam yourself in that chair and deal with the consequences, and then circle back you know, later and try to figure it out for next time. Or you might say, hey, in this moment, you know, I need a chair that fits, and, you know, take that opportunity in the moment to work on it. But I'm not here to tell anyone what to do, because I am not in your shoes, and I cannot know how it feels, you know, for each person in each moment. What was that comment I just saw? It's difficult and scary, but we deserve to be comfortable. Of course we do, yes. But sometimes it does not feel safe. And I have been in that circumstance before, where I felt like if I said something that I was gonna be like literally made fun of. And that's not okay for my mental health, especially in a professional setting where I'm like trying to do stuff. Standing up. Yeah, and so that's the thing, is like sometimes it just doesn't feel like something that you either want to deal with or that you can deal with in the moment. So yeah, and so I'm all about taking safe risks. So if it feels like a safe risk for you to in that moment ask for what you need, then do it. But if it doesn't, I just want to like validate that it doesn't always feel safe. So yeah, so the conference room thing happened. In colleges, this is a big thing. This happened to me. So when I was in college the first time, I was smaller, and so this was not an issue. But when I came back to college later, to finish up, it had been like, oh my god, like 8 years, maybe 7 or 8 years, like since I had been in school and I had gained weight. And so I had a really big problem, because every class that I went to, the seating was not accessible for me. And it would be like, you know, the chair with the desk built in the front, and I could squeeze myself in, but it was like really pressing into my stomach. And there would be like one table at the back that was like the wheelchair table that you could wheel up to, but there would always be like thin people sitting there. And luckily I was like older and more like empowered and more of a self-advocate, and I would just come in and be like, y'all need to move because I need to sit at this table. And at this point, you know, I was much older than all the other ones, and so they're just like scurry away. And so I would get to sit at the table. I never had a class where there was actually somebody in a wheelchair, or with like crutches, or, you know, that had like the need for that table. And so it was never a problem. But like, had there been other people that needed that table, it could have been problematic, because there's only spots for 2 people. And there was only ever one table, and some classes didn't even have that table. Oh my god. So yeah, I remember in my Spanish class I had to jam myself in, and I asked for accessible seating, and the teacher was really sweet, and she was like, I'll work on that, but like nothing ever happened. And I know that at my college, at University of Houston, there was like an accessibility office, but I didn't know how to access that, and I got overwhelmed, and I just like didn't deal with it, because I was only there for a short time. That's great. I'm reading Kim's comment about the desks. Yeah, and so my Spanish teacher was really sweet, and she tried, but like nothing happened. So then when I went back to college, I only had a couple classes that were actually on campus, so this wasn't like as big of a problem as it could have been. Had I been taking like a full load of classes like there, it would have been really problematic. So the other class that I took was also in a classroom, not an auditorium, and they had those same desks. And this, oh my God. Okay, so it was like a debate class. I had to take one more elective. And I took this debate class because I was like, hey, I'll work on my public speaking. And it was all those desks. And I went to the teacher and I said, hi, I don't fit in these desks. And so I need an accessible option, because they didn't have the like table with the 2 chairs. And she was like, I can't help you. I don't know how to help you. And I was like, you're a bitch, first of all. And what I ended up doing, this is ridiculous that I had to do this, is this class was in the same building as the writing center on campus where I used to work. And so I would walk over to the writing center and be like, there were people there that knew me from, you know, a long time ago. And so I would be like, hey, I'm going to borrow a chair. I'll bring it back like when this class is over. And they're like, okay. Anyway, so I would like walk to the writing center, get a chair, bring it all in. I would have to lift it up and like carry it past these desks to the one spot where I could put this chair. Nobody ever offered to help me with the chair. The teacher never offered to like make sure there was a chair in there for me. Like, no help was given. Like, it was so shitty. But like, if I didn't go get this chair, if I didn't know that I knew people and could go get this chair, like there would literally have been nowhere for me to sit in this class. And the teacher did not care at all. So like, one, I should have explored the accessibility office, but I didn't. At this point in my life, I would. At that point, it was like, that was overwhelming to me to try and navigate that. And I also didn't believe that it would be accommodated. So, I mean, that's on me, but like also all those other things are on other people. Okay, I want to talk about in people's homes. So if you're a thin person or an average sized person or a smaller fat, and you have fat people over, or larger fats over to your home, you might want to think about the seating that you have available. And so think about, and not that you like have to run out and buy all new, you know, furniture, new couches, new dining rooms, chairs, or whatever. But if you're shopping for new stuff, just think about it. Do you have larger fats in your life that you want to feel comfortable in your home? You know, like let that factor into your decision when you buy furniture for your home. For example, one of my most like long-term friends, I love her dearly. She has been a big part of my life since 2002, like a big part of my life. I recently went to her house for dinner, and the dining room table chairs had arms, and they were very small also. And I said, hey, I don't fit in these chairs. Do you have another chair that we could bring to the table? And they did happen to have one chair that she could bring out and put at the table, so that I could sit and eat dinner with them. But like, what if she didn't have that chair? What if there was more than one fat person there that night? I don't know what would have happened. Like, what would we do? Like, am I just gonna stand? You know, like literally, I don't know what we would have done. Like maybe there was an ottoman or a stool that could have, I mean, but like that sucks. Like, you want people to feel comfortable in your home. Think about their experience there. And so the other side of that is like, if you're gonna have people over for like a barbecue or like hanging out, like what kind of outdoor chairs do you have? Are they those really like flimsy plastic ones? Because those things break even under like not super fat bodies. Like those plastic chairs do tend to break. And they have arms, and they are, you know, can be tight. So if you like to entertain, if you like to have people over, like just think about, you know, who might come to your house. Like have some options that are not just those super flimsy chairs. And just FYI, at like all the big box stores like Walmart, Target, I've seen them at Sam's. Well, I haven't seen them at Sam's, but I've heard they have them at Sam's. I've seen them at Costco. Those, you know, those like camp chairs that like fold up into like a cylinder and then they just collapse out, and then it's like, you know, canvas or nylon seat and little arms. So they make those in like big and tall sizes. So like if you're just gonna stock a bunch of chairs, like maybe just have a couple of those in your house so that like if somebody needs it, you have it. And you know, like, oh, this chair is rated up to, you know, 500 or 600 pounds. Like, so like this is definitely gonna work for somebody who's coming to your house. Yes. It's really, I'm a big, like, home person. I like to entertain. When I bought my couch, I specifically bought it. The connection looks like I'm having some issues. Anyway, I specifically bought a couch that was, like, really comfortable for large fat people. One, because I am one, but also because I want people to be comfortable coming to my house. You know, like, what if somebody larger than me comes over? Are they going to be comfortable? I think about it like, I want furniture that's strong, and I want stuff that doesn't have arms. I want to be able to create a welcoming, accessible environment. And if you do that, because you're amazing and wonderful, and you have those options, and like, say somebody comes over and you think, oh, you know, like, here's an option for them, like, tell them, like, hey, I just want to let you know that I have, you know, options that I know will be comfortable for you, so that they're not stressing about it, so that it's easy for them to say, yes, I'd love to come over, because it's something, you know, that you think about. Okay, and then, let's see. Okay, I talked about beach chairs. So that's really like a lot of the seating stuff. Oh, thanks. Okay, so the next topic that, topic 2 of 2, that I wanted to talk about today is about traveling and anxiety. So a lot of times you might end up traveling with a coworker or with a family member or a friend who is larger than you and has anxiety about traveling. And there are a lot of reasons why somebody might have anxiety about traveling because of their size. I don't know if you have paid attention a lot to stuff that has happened in the last, like, decade, really, but there have been some really high profile situations in the news where fat people have been denied access to airplanes because of their size, or forced to purchase, in that moment, like waiting to get on the plane, forced to purchase a second seat, or had purchased a second seat and then was then denied boarding because they were overbooked, because the airline sold that second seat even though that person had bought it. And so, like, just have not been able to get on the airplane. So, like, what, like, imagine if you were traveling with your fat friend and that happened, like, what would you do? And so how would you support them? And what would that support look like? Would you just get on the plane and go and then say, you know, like, you catch this later flight? Would you stay with that person? You know, how would you support them during this, like, honestly traumatic time? Well, they have to figure out what they're gonna do. And then if you get on the plane, like, you know, not being denied, I mean, not that everyone is gonna be denied, but, like, because it has been so high profile, it's like, you're always thinking about, like, I think about it. I'm like, every time I fly, I'm thinking, what if they don't let me on the plane? What if they decide that, like, I'm too fat to fly? Oh my God, I never even thought about that. See, look, I don't even know. So Jeanette's comment, if you're gonna get a pedicure or like a manicure or something, oh, a pedicure because of the chairs, and they deny your larger friend. So, like, to me, I'm thinking, if I'm going, like, with my friend and she's thin and I'm fat and they're not gonna let me get a pedicure because they don't want me to sit on their pedicure spa chair, if my friend is like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get a pedicure, I would be so hurt. I would be really pissed. Like, the idea of solidarity is really important to me. So, like, with the plane thing, it's a little different because it's so expensive and the cost is already sunk, and if that person doesn't make the flight, then, like, can they afford to take a later flight? Because they're not, you know, like, they might have to pay for both tickets. Like, that's more questionable to me. I mean, in theory, I would like to say that I'm like, oh, it's okay, you go ahead, but also that would hurt my feelings. But I also would understand a little bit more. But the pedicure thing, if that person, like, if your friend is being denied service somewhere for any reason, don't get that service. Like, don't continue to patronize that establishment. Like, just leave. Be like, this is discrimination, and leave. Write a Yelp review. That is awful. Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you want to be supportive and loving to your friend, do not continue to get that thing, whatever it is. Be like, F you, and leave. Yes, that's a great, I mean, that's a horrifying, but great example. Thank you, Jeanette. What else? Let's see. Okay, so with the flying thing with traveling, so being denied access is really anxiety inducing. I fly, you know, a few times a year, and I think about it every time. I think I could be denied. And like, think about what it would feel like. Like, it's never happened to me, but think about what that would feel like to you if you were waiting, you know, to board a plane and they literally would deny you access because of your size. Ugh. Let's see. Claire, as a thin person with bigger friends, you need to think about how you're walking. Yes. I was going to talk about this. That's great. You might be walking too fast or navigating as a pedestrian through tight spaces. Yeah, exactly. So, if you're just hanging out, or you know, if you're traveling or whatever, you're walking around with your friend, like, and I think this is true of anyone, you want to just match. So in hiking, we talk about you let the slowest person lead, or you let the slowest person set the pace, and that's so that it's equal, that there's nobody like super way in front, that you're not leaving anyone behind. So I think, you know, like in terms of pace, you let the slowest person set the pace and you walk at their pace. And if that's a problem for you, you need to unpack why that's such a problem for you. Because just like, you know, walking, you know, through the mall or whatever with your friend, like, it should be okay for you to walk at their pace. Like, I don't understand why that would be a problem. And just think about people's feelings. I'm always like, just think about what somebody's feeling. Like, it doesn't feel good to feel like you're, you know, lagging behind and holding everyone up and being a burden. Like, don't treat your friends like that anyway, but especially in these circumstances, don't treat your friends like that. Claire made a really good point about, like, if you're a thin person, you can kind of like bob and weave through people easily, or like fit through two, you know, parked cars that are tight, you know, tightly packed in. But I'm not gonna be able to fit through there. I'm gonna have to go around. I'm gonna have to find an alternate route. Just be aware. I think that's really like the key here, is like, as like a good ally, as a good loving supportive friend, be aware of someone else's experience. You know, don't be only aware of your experience. Just think about them. Spirit, big front seat that you can pay extra for. Oh, okay. I've never flown with Spirit Airlines. These are such great comments. Yeah, and so back to flying. The other issue is like the seat. So I pretty much in the US only fly Southwest because they used to have the worst policy for passengers of size, but now they have like the best policy. So, and I'm always surprised because people don't know about this. If you don't know, Southwest Airlines, you have two options for getting a second seat. The first is just to buy a second seat when you buy your first seat. That way you know you are guaranteed to have that second seat, so you can have all the space you need, get a seatbelt extender, like, be comfortable, because you deserve to be comfortable. So that's the first way. The second way is, like, I don't usually have the money to buy 2 airplane seats at one time. So the second way is a way to not have to pay for it. Oh, if you buy it up front, you can get refunded that money after the flight is over, but it can take like weeks to get that money back. So the second way, if you don't have the money to front or to wait to get the reimbursement, the second way is to show up, like try to get there early and ask for a second seat. And if they are available, if there are extra seats available, they will give you a second seat for free in that moment. And then they just give you this little seat reserve sign that you put on the seat. And so here's the other thing that's really good, because you want to, Southwest is like a free-for-all. There's no assigned seating, so you just like get on the plane and find a place to sit. So if you're like way back, you know, in like boarding group C, it'll be hard to find 2 seats together. So you can pre-board with like the people, like you can pre-board if you're like in a wheelchair, you have like a mobility aid, or if you have like a baby. I'm sure there are other reasons you can pre-board, but also if you have that second seat, then they will let you pre-board. They give you a special pre-boarding pass. Make sure you ask for it, because not every ticketing agent or gate agent will remember to give you that. So you need to remember to get the second seat and the pre-boarding. So that's what I do now, is I just get there early. No one should feel bad if this bumps someone on Southwest because they get a flight voucher. Oh, will they do that? Because it was my understanding that if they didn't have an extra seat, they would bump you to the next flight with an available extra seat. I've always been able to just, they have a seat for me to have. I didn't know that that would like bump people. They do bump people. Interesting. I don't feel bad. That's fine. They'll get a flight voucher. Okay, I'm missing some comments. Let's see. Clothes shopping with your thin friends. Julie, I love your comment. I'm a Cockney and from London. They get a free flight for it. Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, if they get bumped, they should. Okay. So yeah, and then once you get on the plane, it can feel like, even like, it's a peacock. Yeah, we have a lot of peacocks around here. So they're making lots of noise, of course. So yeah, like, but just like dealing with people, even once you're on the plane, like, it just, this whole situation, even if you have the second seat, even if you got to pre-board, so you got the, you know, the 2 seats that you need, like, people just treat you so differently. So, you know, if you're like a thin person or a smaller fat, traveling with a larger fat, like, just be mindful of the fact that, you know, like, they're gonna get a lot of stares and looks and possibly comments, and it just feels bad. Like, people have these attitudes that are so crappy, and especially in flying, there's a lot of like, you know, you take up too much space kind of vibes, and people are really willing to be like shitty to each other in these circumstances. I've had many comments directed at me, nasty looks, people asking flight attendants if they could change seats when they've been seated next to me and we're like, you know, directly next to each other. I mean, people can just be so nasty. So really this is all just about like being a good friend, paying attention to how somebody else is experiencing that moment, and, you know, doing what you can to help and alleviate and support in that moment. And you'll know your friend, you'll know what they might need and what would feel good to them. Some people will want like kind of that, like, you know, oh, you know, like blah, 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 like attention and coddling, and some people will want to be left alone. And you'll know because you know your friend. Well, this seems like a good time to see if I can block someone. I don't know how to, I don't think I can. Good, you'll come back. All right, well, great. All right, so then, so traveling, and then talking about like, you know, if you're traveling or if you're just hanging out, then you can, you know, just pay attention. We talked about, you know, like navigating through tight spaces. If you're traveling and you're like walking around looking for somewhere to eat, like be on the lookout for those things that I talked about with seating at restaurants and stuff. Yeah, so, okay, so shopping, I don't know if it was you, but somebody earlier brought up shopping. If you're shopping with your fat friend, then you can, you know, make a point to like go to a store that they can shop at, you know, make sure that you're not just going all to like straight size stores. You know, go to stores that are accessories only, you know, if there aren't stores that fit them size-wise. Like for me, there's not like a ton of brick and mortar stores like at a mall that I can shop at. Just find ways to make it feel like everyone is getting to go to places that appeal to them. Yeah, shopping is really hard in general with like mixed size groups. Like I don't actually like that at all. If I'm gonna go shopping with someone, which I don't normally do, I would go with somebody who's my same size so that like we definitely are going to the same stores. And I do most of my shopping online because I don't love like shopping in person. Okay, so this video is getting very long. The last thing that I want to just talk about is this idea of like accessibility and being able to like figure out where is accessible, whether it's seating or like like just tight spaces. So it's not always even seating. So like, have you ever been in a restaurant where like the tables were really close together? Like that's an accessibility issue, and not just for fat people, honestly, for all kinds of people that just need a little more space. So there is this company called AllGo, which stands for Can We All Go? The question, like, you know, so you want to go to dinner. Okay, can we all go? You know, is it going to be comfortable for everyone? And they are basically trying to start like a Yelp, but for accessibility issues for fat people. And I think that is so cool. And I have thought about that before. I actually started a blog a long time ago and quickly abandoned it because I am not a blogger. I always like want to start blogs, and I'm real into it for like a week and then I never post again. But, so mine was about hiking though, like what trails are accessible. And what trails are like actually easy, actually medium, and actually difficult. Anyway, but so AllGo is going to be an app that is like Yelp, and it just talks about accessibility for fat people, and restaurants and venues and all the places, you know, that might need those kind of ratings and comments. And so they're doing a Kickstarter right now. And they're trying to raise money because it's expensive to get people to do all this coding and figuring stuff out. And so the Kickstarter is like live right now. I think they have like 13 more days to go as of the filming of this video, which is March 26, 2018. And so they have like 13 more days to go. I think they're trying to raise $10,000, which in the grand scheme of things is not like a crazy amount of money. And so if you want, I'm going to put a link in the box below. If you want to support them, I'm going to donate. I would love to see other people donate. I want them to hit their goal. It's an all or nothing. So if they don't hit the goal, they're not going to get any money. I think that that kind of resource would be so, so helpful. I would love to see that in Houston. I would love to help, you know, like fill in information. I think they're going to start with Portland because that's where they are. And then, so in the summer, they'll launch Portland, and then from there launch other cities, probably starting with, you know, the main cities, hopefully coming to Houston. But I think it's such a worthy project to back. So if you have $5 to spare and can kick their way, I mean, I think that would be amazing. So it's, the app is called AllGo, stands for Can We All Go? I don't remember their names, or else I would say their names that are doing this project, but I think it's such a worthy thing and so helpful. So if you want to kick some money towards them, that would be really good. Does anybody else have other any other comments about things that they would want their thin friends or smaller fat friends to know, or if you are on that side, things that you think about when you hang out with your larger fat friends, or vice versa? Any last comments before we end this? Oh yeah, there's a Facebook group, Flying While Fat. I'm not in it because I try not to be in too many Facebook groups. Jeanette, are you in that group? Can you talk about Flying While Super Fat? I might have to be in that group. Yes. Okay. If you're interested in that, I think they probably just talk about all the things, right? Check those out. That's a great, I'm like using my mouse like it's gonna move stuff. Yes, great recommendations. What else? I can't think of. I did see somebody, Comfy Fat Travels is an Instagram that I just saw, and they are larger fat, and I think, I didn't get real deep into it, but I think the name Comfy Fat Travels, probably talking about like traveling and stuff like that. So Instagram, information, you know, about flying, people who are afraid to fly due to size. Towels. Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, if you're gonna have people over, you know, you want to be a good host and like, you know, have enough towels and stuff. Maybe try to have some larger towels. Yeah. I don't even have larger towels for me. I should probably get some. I have like a couple beach towels. But yeah, like having like bath towels that are like a nice size for somebody so they don't feel like they're drying off with a washcloth. Because some like bath towels are like weirdly small. Aren't they a part of the AllGo? Yeah, I think like peripherally. I think they're just kind of like, you know, we endorse this. I don't think they're like really involved. Yeah. Oh God, I would love to have like big towels that actually fit me. That would be like a life upgrade. But my towels always get so gross. Because I'm like, you know, dyeing my hair or whatever. Like all our stuff ends up like bleached or dyed in a weird way. I don't want to get nice towels, they'll get ruined. Okay. Yay, you guys have such great comments. You took care of it. Kim's got me. All right, y'all. Well, we're at 40 minutes, so I'm going to cut this off. But thank you so much to everybody who was here live for it. And if you watch this later, please feel free to comment. And if there's anything that you would want someone to know, or that you do like for your friends that you want people to know about, then comment. We'd love to see that. And if you want to talk more about stuff like this, you can come join the Facebook group that I have. It's the Radical Body Love community. And we talk about stuff like this, and it's just like a safe, nice place to hang out with people that are not going to be jerks. Oh, we got some more. Yeah, armless chairs. Those arm plastic chairs are awful. Yeah, we talked about the chairs. Yeah, there's nothing worse than like going to like a cookout and being like, I literally can't sit down. Thanks. I just have to stand for the next 4 hours. Oh my God, I can never pull the trays down. Oh my gosh. All right, y'all. Have a great day. Bye.